Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're live on cricket.com for yet another watch along in the Indian Women's T20 League. And boy, Bangalore really need the points tonight because they've lost three, of course, and it all shapes up nicely going into the tournament, not for them, but for the other teams. When we talk about UP and how precious points can be tonight for them. My name is Avni Shaikde, by the way, and I'm a huge Bangalore fan. I'm heartbroken each minute we're going into this league, and I'm joined in by Bishan Jaswant, who also shares the Bangalore element with me. And good to see you and your Pac-Man sock. So big shout out to that. Bish, talk to me because it's again just hair splitting at times.
Yeah, new day, same old Bangalore.
Same old.
But the thing is, Bangalore started off today, right? Not just the game itself, even before the game. I thought the team changes.
Yeah.
The time had come to the tournament where they had to make some changes.
Correct.
I thought they got the players that they moved out right.
Yeah.
Right? Preeti not in the greatest of form. I understand Megan being pushed out because you had to bring someone who bats a little bit in. The third player was Poonam. I think Poonam is a bowling all rounder, but she's only batted at number 7 or he doesn't bowl much. So the exits make sense, but it's hard to believe that Dana Van Niekerk still doesn't get a look in.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean,
She's
I have
now
nothing against Erin Burns.
No, not at all. But she's now Dana Van Niekerk is the only person apart from I think Indrani Roy in the squad who hasn't played yet.
Correct.
Surely it's time when you're down in the dumps to make a change, like getting South Africa's best player, their captain, I mean former captain in. I mean, if you don't make that change now it's too late probably because there are only 4 games left after this. Even if you win all 4, assuming Bangalore lose this game,
Yeah.
then it's still a very, very hard way back.
It is, of course, it's a difficult task. It always is if you're a Bangalore fan. Let's, of course, get on two men. One we've seen, of course, a lot of, and we absolutely love in terms of Gurkirat. We'll get Gurkirat on right now because lots of comments coming his way already. Good to see him smiling. I think he's smiling at the expense of me being miserable right now. But more on with Gurkirat in just a bit. Let me introduce a man who's making a debut in this show today in terms of watch-alongs. Mohit Shah is his name, and he's a big, big women's cricket fan. Mohit, good to see you. A gentle loosener up front then for you. Who are you backing in this particular league? And tell me why, for starters, please.
I'm backing the Mumbai Indians because I feel like they have the strongest team. And I also like the fact that they have a all women coaching staff and it's the first season of the Women's Premier League. So, and obviously they have Harmanpreet Kaur as captain, who I think deserves a major trophy. So those are like some of my reasons for supporting the Mumbai Indians.
I mean, inevitable, some would say. I mean, absolutely despicable from your end because, look, as a Bangalore fan, I actually have a rivalry with all these Mumbai folks, but that's what makes sport, right? Good, Ira, coming to you. Are you happy or sad right now? Be honest with me. I know Bangalore aren't your team, my friend. Surely your heart goes out to them.
Just
Yes.
before you start, it's only a rivalry if you win a few games.
Beating Mumbai.
I'm actually, even though I'm not a Bangalore fan, in fact, in the women's T20 league, I'm not a avid supporter. I've been saying this of any team. I just want to see good cricket. But I was livid, and I don't say this lightly. I was livid today with how Bangalore collapsed. And see, execution part of things can go wrong in any sport, right? Because it is not always in your control. But
Yeah.
Bangalore had 2 runouts, and one of those runouts was of Heather Knight, and the other was of Richa Ghosh.
No, okay,
And
if I
you
just
know,
explain, give me a best analogy of Richa Ghosh's run out because I was trying to tell Shub and the boys in the office that it was like an EA Sports cricket game going wrong where your buttons are jammed. It was diabolical, Gurkirat. What's your
it was
best?
stupid. It was stupid to begin with. See, I've been saying this. I think runouts are the worst form of dismissal in any format because what do you stand to gain? Probably an extra run, right?
Yeah.
You might as well attempt a boundary of a negative matchup. At least the reward is higher. And it was just mindless from Richa Ghosh. And I it's not just Richard Ghosh who at which the Bangalore management should be angry at. You have to question what the kind of decision making that took place between Alyssa Perry and Heather Knight over there, because it was a crucial juncture of the game. Had they batted till the 15th over, Bangalore could have posted 170, and then from 170 it's a different game altogether. Now they don't even have 140 on the board. And I mean, it's not the first game of the tournament. You already know that you're struggling. You've lost 3 games on the trot. Today is probably the must-win game. and then you make these kind of decisions. It's hard to explain. See, execution mistakes you can justify or you can let go of, but you really can't do anything about mistakes that happen in the process of decision making. There was just poor decision making from Bangalore, where in they actually wasted a very good start, and an innings which could have really resulted into something.
Hmm. Let's take some of the comments, and of course, we'll get more with ambitions, thoughts, and more of cricket, of course, because by the looks of things, UP are going to finish this game early, lads. So we'll get lots of questions in. Vasant Narayan saying a player should progress like Perry, who has improved as a very good player, whereas our superstars are showing diminishing returns. The other is absolutely slandering RCB, as I can see it in the comments. Greg K saying Bangalore going to be losing 7-0 soon. Mandara choked again, saying Chachant Gurkirat will be deeply disappointed. 2017 men RCB, women RCB handshake. And what's new? What's new of all, to quote Mr. Nags? Hope it's a dangerous thing. And Justice Fasheta Suraj. So keep your comments coming in. Now, I just want to put a finger on what has been Bangalore's biggest, I don't know, what's the right word, Bish? What's the word that I'm looking for? The biggest letdown this season. 4 games and be it 3.5 games. What is it?
I think they've got too desperate. I think the situation is they've got too desperate. So they came into this tournament as arguably the favorites, right? Many people said they had the best team. Everyone who's a Bangalore fan thought they'd done extremely well at the auction. The expectations of this Bangalore team were very, very high.
Yeah,
And the first game brought them crashing right back down to earth.
correct.
And then you hope that you will recover in the second game, but the second game didn't go to plan either.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's the point at which Bangalore began to get desperate. And even today, the desperation came through when they were 73 for 1 in 8 overs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They got to a point where they felt they had to seize the game in a very aggressive manner. And that resulted in some of the bad decision making Gurki was talking about,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I somewhat understand it, but your expectations of players at this level are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And you just have to be able to play the percentages, play the ball on merits, things that are easier said than done, I understand. But those are the expectations of players performing at the highest level. So you just have to live up to it.
Look, I'm not going to ask Mohit if he concurs because it'll end up being a Bangalore round show instead of a watch along. But Mohit, tell me what's pleased you about UP so far in their league. I mean, even today, right now, I know people are saying Justice Vishweta Sarawat is a joke in the comments because she was obviously opening with Elisa Healy. What's the thinking behind sending Devika Vaidya as an opener? Is it purely because Bangalore's the opposition so they can give some confidence to players who are out of form?
I don't think so. I think the thinking is to have a left-right combination at the top of the order, and Devika Vaidya is obviously a much more experienced player and tends to play spin particularly well. And on this pitch where it's turning a fair bit, I think the idea is to have a left-hander up top so that she can be a good option against the left-arm spin of Sahana Pawar, especially because she's somebody who generally bowls in the power play for Karnataka, bowls well as well. So as you can see, she's not been thrown the ball yet in the first 3 overs. So that probably is a result of Devika Vaidya being out there. And in terms of the strike rate at which Shweta Sehrawat and Devika Vaidya bat, it's pretty similar. So I think that's probably the main logic of pushing Devika up the order today. And if she does well, I think they would want to stick with her at the top because they paid a lot of money for her at the auction. And so far, they've not even gotten the best out of her. She didn't bowl in the last match. Today also, she bowled very little. Her bowling hasn't been great as well. She looks short of confidence. So maybe this is a way for them to tell her that we have the confidence in you, not just as a bowler, but also as a batter. And we want you to bring all your experience into play for us.
Yeah, I mean, those are valuable points over there. I mean, how do you rate UP Gurkirat? Because, of course, we've been talking about Bangalore, been praising Mumbai. We've, of course, appreciated Delhi to a large extent. But I want to understand from you in terms of their visible strengths. Yeah, Deepti Sharma, Eccleston, we saw her today come to the fore. What else impresses you about UP? You're on mute, as always. The
See,
BSL. The BSL.
so far I think Alyssa Haley hasn't really got going. Probably when she gets going, she'll also win them a game or two. And her record in knockouts is also quite a good one. So I suppose they're still yet to probably, you know, play 100% to their capability. And once they do that, they'll probably be a very strong contender to finish in the top three, if not the top two. And like I've been saying from the start, that as the pitches get slower, their bowling attack is going to become even more potent, given how many spinners that they have. And then, on if sometimes even on the same venue they play on a fresh wicket, they have someone like Shabnam Ismail who can come in and then do the damage. So they seem to be quite rounded up.
Yeah, and it's all about that third spot, which Gurkirat mentions, because many people are reckoning that even though Delhi suffered a defeat to Mumbai, it'll probably be Mumbai and Delhi to get those top spots. Now, what's the thinking with trying to defend 138 pitch? I'm looking at it, the first 3 overs, fine. You've thrown the ball to your left arm pacer, Komal Zanzar. She's not really been on the money, in fact, going for more than 10 in her first 2 overs. And now Erin Burns, who's not a bad off spinner, but in the power play, is this a gamble again? What's the thinking behind RCB start with the ball?
No,
Just
I think it's a simple matchup play. Yeah, no, go on, Gurkirat.
Yeah, I think just one thing that UP have to be wary of is the entry points of Deepti Sharma. Like I just hope, and I just hope that they don't get into a situation wherein they send Deepti Sharma early. She takes her time, but she's not then able to make up for the time that she's taken, or the ball she's eaten up, because that is very very important in T20s, because they have enough batting depth and enough firepower to finish strongly, as we've seen, because Grace Harris can really pack a punch. Sophie Eccleston also played a very handy cameo in that first game. And then there's Talia Magra and Shweta Serawat. So they just have to figure out that they get the entry point of someone like a Deepti Sharma, precise, and she doesn't really overstay her welcome, because in T20s that can be a real dampener for your side.
You agree?
I'm glad Gurkirat mentioned Grace Harris as well. I think she was dropped in the last game and she's rightly back in the team for this game. And UP have the same problem that Bangalore have with respect to their foreign players. It's very hard for them to get that combination right.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, whichever combination of four they play is the right combination, and that's not the problem,
Yeah.
right? Because it's very hard to believe that the fastest bowler in women's cricket, Shabnam Ismail, can't find a place in a franchisee tournament team.
It's almost a
And
problem of plenty, right?
yeah, that's exactly what the issue is here. And you can't drop Grace Harris either. She had a fantastic first game and then she was dropped for the next one.
So who are UP's best four according to you then?
UP's best four, I think, are fairly straightforward. Alyssa Healy, Sophie Eccleston, uh, along with you have to play Grace Harris. If I had a choice, I would have played Shabnam the first game because I think she's in the best four,
Yeah.
right? But because Grace Harris played the first game and played well, she's definitely part of the best
And
four.
you can't drop Talia McGrath.
You can't drop Talia
innings
McGrath.
like last
Talia
time.
McGrath is the world's best batter in the bottom 5 overs, right?
Yeah.
There is no
She's
way
the
that
world's
you
best
drop her.
batter, period. I mean, in terms of
Quite
ICC
possibly.
rankings,
Quite
as well,
possibly. Yeah.
she's
yeah,
number
yeah.
one. So, I mean, and honestly, that batting depth is there to see because Eccleston as well. Not to forget, she had a 12 ball 22 or something like that. So I generally think it's onwards and upwards for UP. They'll be hoping to chase off the 138 today with a good net run rate because they took an absolute belting in the last game. Now, we'll take a few from the fans. We're going to say Bangalore players didn't play bold, but their management should play bold by dropping high profile, non performing players. What the hell on earth do the management do even after having a great auction? I think that's a question I can pose to Mohit. Mohit, do you want to have a crack at it? Because if I do, I won't honestly end my round.
I think the thing is, as you can see today, they've dropped Megan Shute, who's pretty high profile and like one of the best fast bowlers of all time. And I think
Yeah.
it's the right decision because her record in India over the last 12 months has been very poor, especially in Mumbai. Because if the ball is not swinging and if the pitches are flat, she then sometimes tends to struggle. And maybe she can like hold her own in the power play, but after that, she can become a liability on these pitches. The two high profile players in the RCB 11 today who haven't pulled their weight so far are probably Smriti Mandana and Richa Ghosh. But I don't really see a capable replacement for any of them on the bench. So I think it's too early to be dropping any of those two players. And I think RCB got it wrong today by batting Richa so low down the order. Like Richa Ghosh batting at 8 for India at the best of times is a very illogical and stupid move. So her batting at 8 for RCB doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I think just the eagerness to get on strike and get into the action probably also contributed to her run out today. Because imagine like you were India's one of India's best and most informed players at the T20 World Cup, and today you've been pushed down all the way to number 8. So it isn't hard for a young player. She's like still a teenager, I think. So it's not really easy for a young player to deal with so much. So I think somewhere all the anxiety of being on the bench for so long and batting so low also contributed to that run out. So I don't think RCB can afford to drop the high profile players. The player they can probably drop is Erin Burns because she's a very good fielder. She's a handy batter, but on these pitches, you need a quality spinner. And if that's a leg spinner, then nothing better than that. So they need to get Danev and Nierkirk in.
Yeah, I agree with all those points, and I'll add to it because Bish, you could chip in too. What frustrated me tonight was, or throughout the tournament, it's been knee jerk, and that's honestly Bangalore's DNA. And we've seen that with the men's side. We're seeing it with the women's side as well, where they're chopping and changing constantly. They're not giving long ropes. It's a new tournament, so obviously you're going to take some time to find your feet. That's point number one. Point number two, even right now, right? Renuka's bowling her first over in the fifth over of the power play. This is your main Indian star bowler. I know she's not been herself and she's looked off color, but you stick with certain plans. You don't throw two debutants, Komal Zanzad and Erin Burns, the first 3 out of 4 overs. Anyway, that's my second complaint. Third complaint, he mentioned Richa's batting position today. I generally think it's also the key players not standing up. I mean, Heather Knight and Ellie Sperry to have a mix up of that in the wealth of experience they have is absolutely shocking. I also particularly feel that who are making these calls? Is it Smriti or is it Mike Hesson or is it Ben Sawyer? I mean, I can't put a finger to it. Can you?
Yeah, no. So I mean, I had a good discussion on one of the earlier watch-alongs with Vaishali, I think it was,
Yeah,
about how women's cricket is different from men's cricket in the way decisions are made.
yeah,
Because there's no doubt that men's cricket is a captain's game, right? It's a captain's team, captain's strategy, and captain has a significant call over team selection and things like that. But in the women's game, you will often see teams. Mohit mentioned the Mumbai's and all women's support stuff, but that's not the case for most teams. Most teams have a male former player who's part of the support of coaching staff, usually the head coach, right? And the reason to have the male player there is because you believe that they've played longer, not necessarily that they're better, but they've played longer. There is more experience to draw from, and when you have a coach who has been brought in for exactly that reason to draw on their wealth of experience, you would assume that if there is a toss up between the view between Smriti and Mike Hesson would prevail, not in an authoritarian way, but because Smriti would be accepting of it.
yeah.
Right? That's currently where women's cricket is at, and things will change as we go along. Tournaments like the WPL will only ensure that the position of the captain in the women's game is uplifted by the wealth of experience that they gain.
Yeah. I mean, it's food for thought. Bukirat,
I also think that RCB are just getting too far behind in the in the power play itself for them to make a comeback. You look at the first game; they conceded a lot of runs in the power play and didn't pick up a wicket. In the second game versus Mumbai, they were 4 down inside the power play, and then with the ball, they had conceded 54 runs. In the last game versus Gujarat, once again they couldn't really control Sofia Dunkley, and they were behind in the game. And then when they tried to cover up in the power play itself, they just lost their way after the power play in the next 5 overs, where the scoreboard didn't just tick along as per the required rate. And today again started off well with the bat, but now lost the plot in the second half. So they've not been able to sort of
stitch
in
back to back innings together, like with the bat
no
and
no
the
wo-
ball. And that's what's
so,
frustrating.
so there are phases wherein you're falling behind, right? And you have to arrest that. They've not been able to arrest that phase whenever they have fallen behind in the game, and
Yeah,
when they have been ahead in the game, they've not been able to sustain that. And
Yeah.
there was
And
talk
it's
about
just things like this, dude. I mean, I know Elisa Healy didn't mean that. I mean, play that shot has gone for four. It's just sometimes when things are really down for you, it's really down for you. And
yeah.
that's a
See,
15, which
luck
is
luck actually
ridiculous within the power play.
luck does play a part in this format, I believe, more than the other two formats. But again, you really can't be blaming luck when you're not doing the controllables yourself correctly.
Yeah.
If I look back at the last game, the kind of bowling that was happening in the power play for Bangalore, I mean, it was evident watching from the outside that Sophia Dunkley is looking to take on the bowling, and she was just fed with
That's sad.
slot ball
Oh
bowling.
my god, that's gonna go away for four as well. You're joking. We just need one breakthrough, and they're actually having an absolute
So
laugh.
far, so far in the four matches in 24 overs of power play bowling, Bangalore has been able to take only 2 wickets. One
I know
against
this
Mumbai,
stat.
and
I know this stat, and I didn't want to be reminded of it, dude, because it's just like, I mean, I like this girl as well who's bowling, right? Shriyanka Patil, because she's shown some fight. She's shown something with the bat and with the ball. But right now, it's really, really hard to take because Bangalore obviously not registered a single win. And like UP are just like rubbing our faces in the dirt, dude. I mean,
You know, not specifically to do with Bangalore, but Bangalore's part of the way you can see the problem.
yeah,
I think you need for the quality of this tournament to be generally uplifted.
yeah,
Uh, you need to have five foreign players in the team,
correct.
right?
Oh,
There are
shout out to my mum, by the way, who's in the comments saying Magic won't need far. If you can find it, Mama, if you can, I mean, I don't know. It's quite ridiculous. Sorry, Bish, go on.
no. I was saying that where the tournament is currently at, and you see sometimes players get going based on a bad over from someone like Komal Zanzad or Shreyanka Patil, where Preeti multiple times has given away tons of runs, right? So those are kind of triggers every now and then which you see that gets teams going. And while the quality of the game has improved manifold over the years, part of the reason why the WPL took so long to get off the ground was the depth of talent in the Indian system,
Correct.
right? And now you can still improve the quality of the tournament by having that fifth foreign player in the team. Then you won't have people like Shabnim and then Van Kirk and Megan Schutt sitting out. All of them need to be playing the tournament to improve the quality of the other Indian players as well. And we will reach a time in 2 years, 3 years' time when there is that depth of talent and you can play four or at some point maybe even three foreigners. So I think that's a part of the problem and part of the desperation that you generally see.
Yeah, that's a good point. That really is a good point because I want to understand from Mohit's point of view as well of how the league can better itself. Because obviously, early days and whatnot. Before I ask Mohit this particular point that Bish has brought up, good to see a comment from Germany, which is strange and unique by itself. But even the particular pictures you guys can see there, we need no introduction that it happened what 6 years ago now, that PGT with Ishant Sharma mocking Steve Smith. So hello to all you viewers joining us from Europe. Great to of course know that. But just coming back to what can better this league, we've seen of course similar template from the men's, but even in the case of Delhi Capitals, right, the fact that they kind of got Tara Norris as their associate player and that's paid dividends. Do you think what Bishan is saying actually begs to be had next year itself?
Not really. Like, I feel there is enough depth in the Indian domestic circuit because I've followed it closely for a couple of years at least now. And even before that, like, matches weren't on TV, but you could see the scorecards. And there are like at least 20 currently active capped Indian cricketers who aren't a part of this tournament. So, for all
Yeah.
you know, there could have easily been a sixth team. And there are enough quality overseas players who are not a part of this tournament. So I don't agree with the five players rule. I agree that having a fifth player as an associate is a good move, though, because we've seen it in a tournament like the Fairbreak Global, where like a lot of associate nation players get to play with the top players, and then they've improved a lot and gotten to learn a lot. So I agree that you can have five players with one associate, but otherwise I wouldn't want to see five players. And like Bangalore's bowling, though, and yeah, just to answer your question about what can the league do, I think the two things that they can do is like make the boundaries bigger because most of these girls are capable of clearing the field very easily. Even number 7, 8 kind of players are doing it consistently, and maybe have four fielders, five fielders outside the ring.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few little tweaks that can really up the women's game. But the power game, like you mentioned, Mohit, they completely second that point because we've seen it already how easily they're clearing these boundaries with absolute ease, and not just the overseas ladies, but also even the Indian ones. Right, there's a bowling change and there's a debutant, of course, and hopefully she has the magic wand. I'm talking about Sahana Pawar. Let me get that right. New names, of course, not household names. We're all kind of learning and motoring along in the Women's T20 League. By the way, all you guys watching on a Friday evening, deeply appreciated. Do subscribe if you're new and tell a friend about cricket.com because the next couple of months is going to be absolutely chaotic in terms of all the T20 viewing. We're going to be here, watch-alongs, of course, for all the men's games as well. So stick around. There's plenty of content on this channel. Now I'll get to Gurkirat and what he makes of certain comments as well. Success failure going on to a comment as well. And cut away first ball and it's a single to the sweeper on the offside. That's because they're not bowling Renuka at the start. She's best swing bowler in the world at this point. They're just, I mean, you're shaking your head. Tell me why. And you're on mute again. The PSL is eating this man alive.
I'm not even watching the PSL. I'm on mute because there's been some disturbance, but I'm just trying to think that what can Bangalore do that can just get them back on track. I mean, sometimes we have seen that teams just earn one win and then they sort of get on a roller coaster and things just start falling in place for them. This
Mumbai,
team is not as bad to this
Is
team
it
is not.
sometimes like one moment of magic which can just turn the pendulum, swing
Yeah,
it?
I mean, it can just be something that changes your luck altogether because this team is not as bad to start to lose 4 games in a row. I mean, there's enough quality, and we've seen those phases in these 4 games as well, where where Bangalore have done well. So it's really hard to figure out. I mean, from where
But
can
the
this
recent
switch
team,
that
Bangalore
turn
team
around?
also wasn't like worthy to lose seven in a row, but they did. Sometimes this happens in T20, right? I mean, do we just have to kind of deal with it?
Yeah, even if that happens, I mean, I'd worry for fans like you, but yeah, it can happen. It's a real possibility because in this format it can also become very difficult to arrest that slide.
Yeah, and
And
speaking
I
of
mean,
arresting slide, they're not going to arrest this particular shambles happening right now up there.
my food is here. I'll just go and get it. Just give me a minute.
Okay, and I'm curious to know what you've ordered because knowing you, it's something cheeky as ever. Suchant going on to say extreme poor captaincy from Smriti. She shouldn't have brought Sri Lanka in the power play. Agree, disagree. I mean, I agree with you, Suchant, even though multiple things we disagree upon. Mohit wants to come in here. Mohit, do you agree with
Uh,
that?
yeah, I just want to go back to the point Bish was making. Like, it does seem like Mike Heason and Ben Sawyer have a lot of influence on the playing 11 of this Bangalore team because Erin Burns is somebody who has like worked a lot with Ben Sawyer at Sydney Sixers, and maybe that had an influence in her getting picked today and also being thrown the ball in the power play. So that was one thing. And coming back to the Shriyanka point, it was an absolutely ridiculous decision because anybody who's watched Shriyanka bowl on the domestic circuit knows that she's a middle overs bowler and one of the best death bowlers in India because she has a very good Yorker. We saw it in the last match as well. So having her bowl overs in the power play is really strange when you have multiple power play specialists in the team like Renuka Singh Thakur and Sahana Pawar who like do the job regularly for Railways and Karnataka on the domestic circuit. So it's selling the player short as well because this is a role which Shriyanka doesn't even perform for Karnataka. Like she does it very rarely. So just to like have her bowling to Elisa Healy in the power play under such high pressure is not even fair to a young player like her. So I think Smriti Mandana's captaincy has been extremely questionable because even in the first match, if you remember, she threw the ball to Sophie Devine in the power play, and I think that over went for 20, and that ended up completely changing the momentum of that innings. So I think the captaincy has left a lot to be desired as far as RCB are concerned.
I agree with that, but I just wanted to make the point about Sophie Devine bowling. I think I said it before as well. Uh, while it looks like a bad call on the face of it, if you wanted one Bangalore bowler to be able to bump the ball and bowl some bouncers, I don't think there is another option in that team. Sophie Devine doesn't bowl often enough. I agree, But if to execute that kind of strategy as a change up, I thought that there wasn't anybody else available, and Sophie Devine tried to do that. It didn't come off. A couple of those bumpers got hit, but I thought it was a reasonably creative move.
I mean, even if you just take a look at how RCB have used all their players this season, right? I mean, like you mentioned, Vish, they've just not played who?
Indrani Roy and
Indrani Roy and
Dane Van Niekerk.
yeah, I mean, it is kind of diabolical because it just tells you they're thinking about how they are treating players, what they're making them do. Mo just suggested a very good one that technically Sri Lanka is meant to be a middle overs enforcer and of course a death overs, but RCB finds different plans for them. So it makes me think who's actually got the most power in terms of calls in that Bangalore setup right now. Is it Hessen or is it Ben Sawyer? Is it Smriti on field because she has to kind of take those impulsive calls? Or is it the leadership group where RCB actually have Heather Knight, they do have Elise Perry, they have Sophie Devine? Who is it, Fish?
Yeah, no, I mean, I answered this. I don't. I honestly think that because of the way the women's game set up, it is the coaches.
Yeah.
It is Ben Sawyer. It is Mike Hessen. But the point is, cricket. Once you step on the field, there's limited influence that the coach and support staff can have for you, right? Unless you are the English team with boards being held up for your captain to follow. Maybe based on Smriti's captaincy, it's time to execute something like that. But the fact is, once on the field, the captain's got to take the calls, and Smriti's taken a few bad ones. That's just the fact of the matter.
Maybe it's just the number 18 in an RCB shirt that can't really prove
And
it.
both of them get out to spin.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous.
At this point of time, I don't think you even need to bowl spin at them. Just tell that a spinner is coming on to bowl, and they'll just offer their wicket on the platter.
And it's crazy how Bangalore put their opposition players back in the form. We saw that with Yasika Bhatia. We're seeing this with Devika Vaidya, who's absolutely having a net session out there. Heather
Even
Knight-
Alyssa Haley. Alyssa,
Yeah.
Haley, I think this is her first 50+ score of the tournament.
For sure. Suchant going on to say creative move would be just to try Sri Lanka for 1 over and then decide to go out that over goes, but Sri Lanka already went for 10 runs in the first over. Yeah, you could look at these moves and nitpick, guys, but essentially the plan is lacking. I think it's very reactive more than proactive. I mean, it's just that normal cliches we use as Bangalore fans in the last 15, 16 years. I really refrain from talking about my team right now because surely there are better things to talk about in the league and going ahead in the game because it always inevitably ends up as a Bangalore criticism show. I don't want to talk about UP because we've just spoken about them. I want to, of course, draw attention to the Gujarat team because many people are saying that they found their feet. I mean, kind of had a slow start as well. I mean, Devika Vaidya is just having an absolute laugh right now. What do you make about Gujarat, and do you think they can make that third spot and give UP a run for their money?
Definitely. I feel like Gujarat are a much more balanced team compared to UP, and the options that they have on the bench, other than especially the domestic Indian players, are a lot better than UP's. And the one
Yeah.
thing that has gone right for them as a consequence of Beth Mooney's injury is that they now have the person in charge who should have been in charge right from the beginning. Because whatever we've seen of Sneh Rana as captain on the domestic circuit, she's one of the best captains that has been in the last few years. She's had a lot of success with railways, and Gujarat has a very strong railways contingent. So with Sneh Rana, she tends to get the best out of uncapped India players, and we've seen that in the two games where she has been in charge. Somebody like Tanuja Kanwar's really stepped up, got into bowl in the phases where she's comfortable bowling in, and even somebody like Mansi Joshi hasn't bowled a lot, but whatever over she has bowled, she has managed to have an impact in. And I think having Sushma Verma behind the stumps also helps a lot because in a format like T20, the wicketkeeper plays a very crucial role in setting the fields and also telling the bowlers about the footwork of the batters and things of that sort. And that is something which Sushma Verma is really good at. So if you listen to her from behind the stump, she's always telling the bowlers what the batters are up to and what they can possibly do. And she's not even afraid of going up to an Ash Gardner and telling her what can possibly be done. So I think the Sneh Rana Sushma Verma combo can probably work wonders for this Gujarat team.
Yeah, let's see how they, of course, go about things in this tournament because everyone plays 8 games, so lots of games to come. Ask Mohit about Seka Ishak and if she's ready for international cricket. We will. I just want to appreciate
One,
Elisa Healy's knock because another 50 in T20s, a 48, which is quite ridiculous, and UP are absolutely running away with it. Can you take that question before I ask all you guys a question? Sorry, Gurkriya, do you want to say something?
another thing that I think that is working out well for Gujarat is that Harleen Deol is also batting well. I think
Yeah,
I don't think anyone expected her to bat as well as she's done in the last two games. And
correct.
if she as a number three is able to set the tempo, regardless of when she's coming into bat, that really strengthens their batting because they have the firepower to finish strongly at the end. So
Hmm.
that's another thing that can work all. What a shot!
What a stroke that is. That's an
What a
absolute.
shot!
I mean, she's playing with her eyes closed at the time. So Mohit, talk to me about Seka Ishak because all the boys have had their say. What impresses the most? What impresses you the most about her?
So I think the biggest strength of Saika Ishak, be it in the domestic circuit or in the WPL, is dot balls. Like that is something that she has absolute mastery over. And if you speak to her also, like that is the thing that she always focuses on, bowling a lot of dot balls. She's not a bowler who like goes for wickets or tries getting wickets. She just focuses on amping up the pressure by bowling a lot of dot balls. And especially in the power play, it's something that she does really well because if you see like her lengths are always very good, there are no loose balls. So if at all, even if she gets hit, the batter has to take the initiative. She won't really give you anything that's in your arc or that's really short and down the leg side. And I think she's picked 9 wickets already in the tournament. That's just one less than RCB in 4 matches. RCB have picked just 10.
Okay,
She
okay,
alone
Mohit.
is as
I
good as
know,
RCB's
I
entire
know it's
bowling
your
attack as far as
debut.
this tournament's concerned.
I
This
know
is
it's your debut. We're
this
taking
is the
you.
point where Avnish, if he was the producer, he would have cut you off, and he said that we have lost Mohit due to bad signal.
No, look, great points about Seka Shark and appreciate the banter too. I mean, what's life without banter at times, Mohit? So I'll get you if Mumbai lose soon. But look, I just want to ask all you guys right now, any player that has surprised you for the good or the bad in this tournament so far, who would that be and why?
For the bad, honestly, Richa. She's come into this tournament in great form. She was arguably India's best player in that World T20. The expectations from her were naturally quite high.
Hmm.
I can understand her desperation today. And once she had a couple of bad knocks, I can understand the low on confidence, how she couldn't get going. But the first two games, especially, right, you expected her to play in a more responsible manner. And you just got the feeling that she had decided that I'll play my shots, the situation of the game is not relevant, and almost hoping it'll come off, right? And it didn't look like she was playing the right shot for the situation. It didn't look like her temperament was right for the match situation. So yeah, so especially considering what the expectations of her were, what her form was, and how she's delivered. It's and like Gurkirat said, it's not only bad execution; it was bad decision making. In the case of Richa, with respect to all of the games she's played so far, so yeah, and she's not been great behind the stumps either.
Richa Ghosh for Bish. Gurkirat, what about you? Any player surprised you for the bad or the good?
For the bad, I'd say Smriti Mandana, because yeah, these are one of the very good batting conditions that you'll get in the country. Boundaries are small as well, so you would have expected her to at least play one impactful knock, which she hasn't. So that is on the like she surprised me for the bad, and the one who surprised me for the good is Harleen Deol, and I mentioned why, because I don't think anyone expected her to become sort of an innings controller or an. I mean, everyone knows that she's an anchor batter, but she's not been able to show the kind of gears that she's shown in the last two games, especially the last game. So that's where I'm surprised for the good.
Okay, Mohit, these boys have given me some Indian names. You want to stick with that trend, or feel free to throw some international names as well if
Yeah, I
there are.
think they spoke a fair bit about the players who've not performed up to expectations. So I'll like speak about two who have surprised me pleasantly, one overseas and one Indian. The overseas player would be Tara Norris because she obviously is somebody with a lot of potential, but the way she has bowled for Delhi has been really impressive. And in two of the three matches, she's provided them with really key breakthroughs. And as a left arm seamer, she brings in a unique angle. Today, Komal Zanzar is obviously playing, but otherwise, she was the only left arm spinner who was playing consistently. Monica Patel played just one match and then she was dropped. So I think Tara Norris is definitely someone who has like impressed a lot of people. Other person hasn't really surprised me, but like I'm very happy to see her do well is Dayalan Hemlata, because for the Railways over the years she has put in so many performances, but whenever she's played for India, she's not managed to replicate that with the bat. But for the Gujarat Giants in all the three matches that she's played, she might not have scored a 50, but she has played very high impact knocks. And I think apart from Harleen Deol, who's like surprised all of us with her stroke play and the rate at which she scored, Himlata has been the other Gujarat Giants batter who's done really well.
I think those are some fabulous points and good picks from the boys, essentially. Let's move on because look, the game's moving on at the rate of knots here. UP 100 for none in 9.2. I mean, if you're a Bangalore fan, it can't get worse. It's honestly doomsday, getting quicker and quicker. They're making mincemeat of this chase. Let's make no mistake of it. Devika Vaidya's playing that perfect foul, and Lisa Healy 67 34. She got 4 boundaries in a row, by the way, when we were all mentioning our points over there. Our stats man's getting involved as well, who we would have loved to have, but of course, it's a full house. And that's 100 up for RCB's bowlers. He goes on to say they've now conceded 102 fours in 4 matches. What? That can't be right. Surely there's a typo there from our stats. 100, bro. I mean, that's a 25 boundaries per game minimum. I
They've
mean,
been considering conceding 200 runs for
Ay,
fun,
ay,
so
ay, ay, ay.
understand that they considered all those boundaries. I think the time
RCB
you just have
RCB
to,
scored RCB scored hit actually 16 fours in their 20 overs. UP have already hit 18. Uh, Bangalore had also hit 2 6s, so they're equal on the boundary front. But I suppose UP is going to get ahead probably in an over.
Are you done making these snarky stats?
he
and
had to
comments?
say it right
He had
then
to say
because
it.
because a boundary could come the next ball and the stat won't be true anymore.
He had to say it. He just had to say it. What did you get for dinner? Why don't you just like concentrate on that and let
Okay, so
Bangalore
there's chicken spring roll and there's chicken tandoori momos.
whoa, he's gone for the full Monty today. Love it. Crime Master Gogo saying Bangalore need to appoint ABT as a coach if they want to win. Yeah, because he's won a lot in his life, by the way. And no disregard to De Villiers, because he, of course, gave me the best moments as a Bangalore fan. But it doesn't matter. It's about the 11 blokes, or in this case, the ladies who are going to be delivering. And right now, even Elise Perry bowling her first over, I mean, she's gone for just 5, but it's an inevitable death. I mean, 7 love, 8 love. Do you really put it past them?
Yeah, no, see, the fact that Elise Perry's been having to bowl her full quota of overs is,
Shocking.
yeah, it's indicative of what RCB's problems are, Bangalore's problems are, right? The time has come where you have to just admit that the bowling quality is not good enough.
Yeah.
And at the start of the tournament, people weren't saying that, right? People weren't looking at RCB Bangalore's 11 and saying the quality is not there. And I think the reason for that is you expected players like Elise Perry and Sophie Devine and Heather Knight to be able to contribute enough with the ball,
Yeah.
right? But it's clear that they haven't been able to contribute enough with the ball. And the Indian players, of course, people like Komal Zanzar, Preeti, etc., are young and you are or no, don't have the experience of playing at this level, so you can't expect a whole lot from them. So I think uh, while auction strategy seemed spot on at the time, the fact is expectations from the bowlers
Yeah.
or the all-rounders to perform with the ball was more than it should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's food for thought, all these points, because as the game trots along, I'm just thinking to myself, what is Bangalore's best attack? And I'll ask the same question to Mohit right now. Before that, do subscribe if you guys are watching and download the cricket.com app because it is sensational, it is fast, it's ad free. So, literally, in terms of speed, that's what you want to check in terms of scores and all that. Mohit, if you're Mike Hesson right now, just think from a Bangalore perspective. You've seen Preeti Bose, you've seen Asha Shobna, you've seen Sana Pawar, you've seen pretty much all the Bangalore bowlers in their squad. Who are you going to be picking if, say, they hypothetically were playing the final tomorrow? Who's their best attack?
It's the only way they will win.
To be fair, like the bowling attack that they're playing today is pretty good. Like the one change I would have is I'd get Dane Van Niekerk in for Erin Burns because she's a quality spinner. Erin Burns at best is a part timer because she doesn't really bowl a lot in the WNCL or in the WBBL. So they are lacking quality overseas spinner, which mostly every other team has. So that's the one change that I'd make. But otherwise, I think playing Preeti Bose in the first three matches was the right decision because Preeti Bose is one of the best performers on the domestic circuit. And more than anything, she's like one bowler other than Saika Ishaq and Tanuja Kanwar who's known for being very economical on the domestic circuit. She was like the first player ever from Haryana, first woman ever from Haryana to play for India. Her record for India also is pretty good in T20s. So yeah, I don't see any problem with playing Preeti Bose as well. Like last match, she had an off day, but in the first two matches, she was actually among the more economical RCB bowlers. And even if they play Sahana Pawar, it's fine because she again is a very good bowler. But I think that overseas players need to start pulling their weight a lot more with the ball, like Bishan said. But it's not exactly their fault as well because Elise Perry now never bowls more than 2 overs for Australia. Sophie Devine's just coming back from an injury, which is why she didn't bowl at all at the T20 World Cup. And Danevan Nikak again hasn't played top level cricket for some time now. So that overseas players need to bowl better. Megan Schutt, I think, has been a big letdown because after playing international cricket for so many years, you would expect a bowler to be able to perform well in all conditions and find a way. But she's not been able to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's honestly not pretty from an RCB perspective. Should really stop saying that. Bangalore is great in terms of a brand, and that's we've built a great brand and play good cricket in the IPL at times. But we fans are hopeful at the start of every season, but it's like PSL pitches are hopes tied to. I mean, yeah, it can't be that. Just Cookie, I probably will agree with you. Smriti is gone to take the review here, which is absolute shambolic. Because I
Yeah,
honestly
this
think
is this is pitching outside leg.
outside like but I honestly think she's just delaying the defeat because the record defeat was 10:08 p.m. IST and it's about 10:05 right
Why
now.
are
And
you
they're
keeping track of that?
I
Because you
just-
got to go home early
yeah, I
that day.
just want to go home at
But
times. I
I
mean,
think that was due to the good over rate. I don't think that lesser overs were bowled that day.
how they even reviewing this? I mean, I'd
Or
be shocked
would
if
this
that's
be would this be umpire's call on pitching
no
or
chance.
just inside? I
Well,
don't know.
John, good to see you. He says Avnish Bro yesterday he said captain's masterclass will win the game for the team. He did. Absolutely. More than a masterclass, it's a stroll in the park. I don't even think she's at the game, Elisa Healy. I think she's just walking in the park somewhere. And funnily enough, Elisa Healy is
Do you
actually
think?
back at Canadian pads, if you
Do
observe
you think
close.
by the end of the tournament, Smriti would lose her smile?
I mean, don't say that, bro. That's just the dil pay by.
That's all she's got going for her now.
Yeah. I mean, why are they taking ages for this review, which is clearly not out? But look, they're just delaying the inevitable, like I said. Tomorrow's game is going to be a good one. Gujarat versus Delhi. We'll see at least two teams compete, unlike, of course, tonight and all the times that Bangalore played this season. Pitching miles outside leg. I mean, even a 3-year-old.
You may as well use your reviews.
I mean, this review compared to the one that Jadeja took, I mean, Rohit took of Jadeja's earlier on in today's, I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
both came out of desperation.
Both desperation. So 11 overs, 115 for no loss. Have you guys ever seen a worse start to any tournament in terms of net run rate? 4 games in, RCB's, I think, is probably minus 11 or 12 right now.
Mumbai may have been similar when they lost 4 at the start
But
a
these
couple
are,
of times.
what, these are three heavy
Mumbai
defeats.
lost. Mumbai, if I'm not wrong, lost 6 games in a row, or probably it was 5 games in the row in a row in the first IPL. In the 2019 IPL, Bangalore themselves in the Indian T20 League had lost 6 games in a row till the time they played Punjab and then got off the board, and they were the only team to beat Punjab twice in that season, which meant that Punjab couldn't qualify and finished fifth.
Hmm.
Anirudh, tell us which Bangalore was worse in terms of the start.
Oh, another. Yeah, tell us, by the way, stats man. Tell us some bruising stats also to just honestly make me feel worse. By the way, Elisa Healy is just, like I keep
Yeah,
reiterating,
yeah,
having
Perry.
an absolute crash out there. 53 of
I, I,
40.
I
Guys,
I
do you think she
don't
can get
know.
100? Do you think she can get 100? The
The,
first
the,
100.
the, yes, she can, but I was just saying that I don't think Alyssa Perry would have lost 4 games in a row ever in her career before this. Because Australia don't lose. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if
Usually we
she's
call
lost
them
4 games in
Bangalore
a row
always.
in the WBBL.
Yeah, I
But
think that's a good one to think about. I mean, you look at what she's achieved in the game; it's quite ridiculous. So let us know in the comments as well if you think Elisa Healy can actually get a cheeky 100 here, because there's 20 to win. She needs 17 more. That'll of course put her in the record books for the years to come. She'll go into cricketing folklore and all of that. So Watchalong saying, if assume Bangalore loses all 8 games, do you expect a new captain next year, and who will it be? Mohit? I mean, say Smriti wasn't playing for Bangalore, who's the obvious captain in that dressing room? Is it Elise Perry, or do you think age kind of goes against that thought?
From like whatever I've seen at the international level of these players as captains or in the domestic leagues, the person who I think should probably captain RCB is Dane van Niekerk, because she's done some great things for South Africa. And when she took charge of South Africa, they were a very young team. They were not a top team. I don't think they'd ever even made a World Cup semi or made it just once. And then
So
once she took
sorry to
over,
cut
she
you off,
like
Mohit, but did she also win a title for the Oval Invincibles with 100 women?
yeah, she did, and I think she was player of the match in the final too. So led by example as well. So she's a great leader and works really well with young players or with teams that are trying to get established. So I think, and considering she's no longer being picked for South Africa, she's also a player who would always be available and who would probably prioritize the WPL and would be hungry to make a mark here, unlike some of the other overseas players who are certainties in the playing 11, and their WPL form might not necessarily translate into national selection. So I think she's hungry, she's ready to prove a point. So she is definitely a very good leadership option within that team.
She could easily get picked again for South Africa, though, right? If she runs her 2K in the right amount of time.
Yeah, but for that, like, we don't know what the South African standards are going to be. But yeah, she should have been a part of that World Cup team, and I hope she captains them again pretty soon.
Meanwhile, Elisa Healy going on to 90 right now, and she won't keep strike because there's another ball to go. Imagine what Mitchell Stark's doing right now, because he needs to sleep early to wake up for day 3, but he's going to see his wife maybe create history. And it's not very often that you see a husband and wife bat in the same day. Has that happened before, Bish?
There's no way for me to say yes or no to that question.
I need what Statsman tell us. Tell us if that is, of course, Kadamba permitted. I've
no,
named
but
dropped.
I wouldn't mind Stark scoring 100 tomorrow with the ball.
Ooh, yeah. Tomorrow,
Yeah,
if
that-
it happened, cannot be with the ball.
With the ball.
Yeah, Stark scoring 100 in 25 overs is something that I take with both hands.
Hmm.
What's
Yeah.
been common with the game in the morning and the game in the evening is the pitch.
Yeah, is a bit.
It's been dead
It's
Mm.
been,
as far as they come, both pitches.
I mean, I thought
This one's flatter. This one's easier for run scoring.
right. So 11 runs required. Do show us some love. Do comment below and like this video as much as possible. We'll be here tomorrow for the second innings as well. Chachant going on to, of course, comment. We really appreciate you, Chachant. Big shout out to you. From experience, Bangalore will not change their captain. Smriti will stay if she's not dropped from the squad. Chokli was kept captain even after he ended up at the bottom of the table season after season. You know what? Even though I don't want to agree with him, I agree with him. And I say that because I feel sometimes supporting this franchise for the last 15 years, especially in the last 7 to 8 years, it's almost been like social media club slash franchise where
Ramesh, Tuchan, RCB have made 3 finals.
I know, and we were robbed off it, some would say. I still believe that 2009 one, we should have definitely won. That 2016 one,
They were
100%. 100 for
Bangalore
no
were
loss.
also unlucky in 2015.
Sorry?
They finished third, while Mumbai had finished second despite winning more games.
Yeah.
Because Mumbai had no Bangalore had two games which were rained out, and they had the better net run rate.
When
But
is this?
because the rule was the team which wins more games finishes on a position ahead or finishes ahead. Mumbai
When
came
is this?
second,
The
Bangalore came third.
2015.
I
This
think
was
you mean
2015.
finished lower despite losing fewer games.
Sorry.
I think you mean they finished lower despite losing fewer games.
Yeah.
Yeah, might have been that way. I'll have to check, but something like that happened. So they should have ideally been second, and because they finished third, they had to first win the eliminator, which they did against Rajasthan. But then they had to travel to Ranchi and play Chennai, which they lost on a slow pitch. And
They
in
should
that
have
game
only
also,
been second,
and
but they should have ideally like done so many more things in the IPL instead of personal records and team totals and all of that shambles. Because as much as we praise their batting, it's quite ridiculous. We stop sounding sad. Remember 2009? That's all I would like to say. 2009, the comeback. We will come back in the second season. I mean, for sure, that 2009 day, by the way, sticks with me till today because I was absolutely pissed off that night because it was not a single team of mine losing, but a double whammy because I saw RCB lose to DC and then United got done by Barca in Rome, and that was just like a
I
double
think
blow.
I think now Shefali Vedya has taken the 100 out of the equation.
I
Not
couldn't
possible.
understand it. I realized that when she kept strike, to of course to face strike this over, and then she what hit like a four now, so it's completely
All we
out.
need is a single, a 4 and a 6. She'll get 100.
Yeah.
No,
Or
but there aren't enough runs.
Six left.
or Sriyanka Patil does
Six
the
left. A
Suraj
single, a
Randeep.
4 and a 6 can happen.
You think
No,
Sriyanka
but
Patil does Suraj Randeep?
no,
Not
but
when
Shefali Vedya is on strike. So even if she takes a single,
Bhumika Vaidya, yeah.
Shifali Vaidya kaun hai bhai?
Yeah, so
sorry.
now she's got her single, and now
Yeah,
they
but
can have 4 and a 6.
Oh yeah, that's still
Yeah.
possible.
4 and a 6. Yeah.
Actually, you never know. Lisa Healy might be thinking the same, right? The
Yeah.
fact that she's 2 hits away, 1 hit away essentially.
But she can't get a 6 now. She has to get a 4 first.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
has to get a 4 first. She has to get a 4 first, can she? Oh, it's reverse.
She
Gets one.
That's the
That's a
4.
And I
95.
don't know whether that attempt to bowl the wide was deliberate or it just
No, the
slipped
phone
out of Sriyanka's hand.
Dude, you know, it'd be really unfortunate right now if she goes for it and then it's literally going to go all the way and then it's just one bounce for 99. Shocking.
This is what Avnish gets joy from Bangalore games. There's not much else
Dude,
left.
this has been an absolute girls v women cricket match.
No, but coming back to that point of about captaincy, I mean, if the franchise has lost all 8 games, right? How is it just fair to pin it on the captain? There are 10
It
other
isn't.
players who were a part of it.
It isn't fair, especially the fact that they have so many experienced leaders in that dressing
Yeah.
room. You can't. So let's see if Healy goes
Oh.
down.
She tried.
And
She tried.
will get the
She-
single,
she
and
deni-
UP will get the
She
win.
can't even deny the single because it was the last ball of the over.
It's ridiculous. But look, she ends up on a well played 96. Well played is an understatement, really. 47 balls to dish out the highest score till today by Elisa Healy. An absolutely breathtaking and absolutely scintillating win from the UP Warriors. They've outplayed Bangalore by miles in this game and 4 defeats now for Bangalore. That's a tough one to take. I mean, all the 3 ones prior to this were tough enough, but this one really hurts fans like me, and I'm sure Smriti out there right now. Boys, let's just wrap up with final thoughts. I mean, there's not even a chance of a miracle. Is there light at the end of the tunnel, like they say?
There is light at the end of the tunnel. Honestly, there is, because in each of the 4 games that RCB have played, there have been patches of the game where they've played well. Now, bringing all of that together to make one good game, it seems like it's a long way away. But we keep coming back to the fact that before the tournament started, we thought RCB were the best team on paper. And they have shown glimpses of it in every single game. It's not beyond them to put together a complete performance, right? The bowling hasn't been as good as was expected of them, but it's still possible based on what we've seen that you can have one good game. And once you have one good game, 2, 3, and 4 can happen after that. We've seen that happen in the Indian T20 League men's version multiple times, right? Where teams go on a losing streak and then are on a hot streak right after that. So Is it possible? It's possible because the quality is there.
And momentum is that word that we so often use in the shortest format of the game. Mohit, Gurkira touched upon this point, the fact that something needs to click and something needs to, of course, turn that corner and then they can be on their merry way. What is that something, Mohit?
I think just their experienced players starting to do the job better, because none of none of them have so far like done their absolute best. Like all of them have clicked in either one game or two games. Like there has been a lack of consistency, and I think because they have a lot of depth in their batting order, their batters keep going hard even when they keep losing wickets. But now there have been two matches where they've not even batted out their 20 overs. So to begin with, they need to like focus on batting out their 20 overs, because it's well and good to have a lot of depth, but then if you waste those many balls every match, it's not really going to help. So I think that batters just need to bat with more responsibility, because there is not going to be any overnight miracle solution in their bowling, because their bowling, even after the auction, was probably going to be the weaker link in spite of them having a very good team. So I don't really see their bowling suddenly becoming very penetrative, considering the pitches also aren't going to change much and they only have 4 games left. But their batters definitely need to like bat with a lot more responsibility and bring all their experience into play by not giving away cheap wickets in the form of runouts.
Yeah, sorry, I was just kind of going through Twitter, my WhatsApp right now, which is filled with lots of fans bantering me, friends, of course, commiseration messages and all of that. Rukirat, final word with you before you dig into your spring roll and your tandoori momos watching the PSL on this Friday evening. What is it? Because Bangalore has, of course, infamous record after infamous record in terms of the men's scheme of things, but even their women's are now going that direction.
Are the momos from cuties?
I mean, then they're not from QDs, but the quality of QDs has also gone down.
I
There's
see.
it's some other outlet. But anyway, coming to the more important question, uh, though Avnish at this point of time would argue that momos are more important.
You are spot on. You are spot on. But yeah, jokes apart,
but
though. Go on.
but yeah, I think for starters they need to stop committing any sort of harakiri, because in the two games that they've batted first, they've done that. Last game as well, I thought they were well within the chase after the power play, but just slowed down and then batted themselves out of the chase. So hopefully, they stop doing that. They become smarter in decision making, and then they should hope that a little bit of luck goes their way, because I think those small percentage decisions or moments have also not gone their way. If that happens, maybe we could see them get the 2 points in the next game. But yes, I think it's important that they get Van Kirk back in the 11. I mean, give her a debut ideally, because that's been something which everyone has been mentioning is only going to add to the balance, and she's probably going to make their bowling better, which at this point of time is very important because they've not been able to make any sort of breakthroughs in the power play. Just 2 wickets in 4 games is not ideal, and in all of those games they've gone for more than 50 runs. So you can't just get behind the 8 ball in every game, just in the power play itself. So just try and play the percentages, I would say.
Okay, let's see how RCB go about their business in the next game, which is a while away because this weekend there's no double header. There is, of course, 2 games. Mumbai play on Sunday, but of course we'll be doing the watch along for tomorrow's one and Sunday's one. Tomorrow is, of course, Gujarat Delhi. Before I say goodbye to all three of you, one word winner predictions for tomorrow's game: Gujarat or Delhi. Vish?
Delhi.
Delhi. Mohit. Mohit. Gujarat or Delhi. I think we're looking.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'd go with the Gujarat Giants, I think, because they've only improved as the tournament has gone on. And I think their batters are having a lot of promise and been in really good touch. So I think they have what it takes to beat Delhi.
Okay, I asked for one word, you gave me one para, but we love Mohit so far. The addition of him has been brilliant. We can see his knowledge being super extensive. And Gukirat, I'm guessing no prizes for me, of course. You'll be supporting Delhi, right?
Yeah, I'd hope that they do better than the last game, and hopefully, we heard Meg Lanning say after the last game that she has to take the fall for the poor batting performance because she couldn't really convert all the time that she had taken. So hopefully a better batting performance. I do think that Delhi will more often than not be in trouble if they are batting first, despite the results that they've had, because they don't have batting depth, and it's very important aspect of T20s. So if they do bat first again tomorrow, they are a little more pragmatic about how they want to pace their innings and their batting order, because their batting rarely finishes at six. I mean, can't really expect Tanya Bhatia to do a lot more. Uh, they did give a debut to another player whose name I'm forgetting, who I've heard is a lower order hitter and can do the job. Would like to see her do as well. Maybe
Jhansi
Mohit can
Akhtar?
give the name. No, no, Jasia Akhtar hasn't played. This was someone starting with the
Minnu
name N.
Mani.
Yeah,
She's
Minu
from
Mani.
Kerala. Good
Yeah,
left hand batter who's like had a good domestic season and bowls very handy off spin as well. Didn't bowl in the last match, but yeah, she's
You
one
say
of the
that
better
Bangalore side
players
is
from
sorting it
Kerala.
out. Okay, guys, enough of the Bangalore banter, enough of this particular watch along, because, of course, lots to chat about tomorrow. So join us then. And if you guys are wondering where we'll be in terms of day three review of the BGT, we'll do that at 5 p.m. tomorrow as well. Thanks, Bish, as ever, and Gurkirat. And, of course, a great debut from Mohit, like I said before. Good to see you guys as ever, and we'll leave it there. Bangalore, I mean, honestly, why even participate in tournaments that we can't win? I wouldn't
Say
say
good
anything
night,
else.
Avnish. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Cheers.
Avnish, do you want me to